I want to go back, though. Steve Price just mentioned before the very important issue of cost of living, and so much of cost of living has to do with the rush to renewables. Now, fascinating piece today in the Daily Telegraph. My colleague Matthew Benz talking about foreign-owned wind and solar power companies that are tearing farming communities apart in their mad scramble to cash in on the rush to renewables. It's tearing communities apart, and there's also a lot of questions about whether or not, as I said earlier in the program, this is going to bring down power bills. Barnaby Joyce has condemned this rush as a great energy swindle. Sam Crosby, again, we come back to net zero, we come back to the environment, we come back to this promise that renewables are the cheapest form of energy, and yet our power bills keep going up. When does the reality kick in for Labor on this here?
So, I mean, you can have the debate all you want. I mean, it's basic economics, right? You need to replace the coal-fired power plants. They are 50, 60, 70 years old. You need to replace them. So you can either replace them with giant new, brand new coal-fired power plants, or you can replace it with wind and solar. That's the question that you got in front of you. You can't just keep running these power plants forevermore. So when you look at the numbers, I mean, just look at any number of the reports and they will all say, yes, it is expensive to do anything. It is expensive to transition to renewables. It is expensive to replace the existing power plants, but you've got to do something.
Well, it's expensive to let them run down as well so that they're not maintained and they have to be taken offline. But James Ashby, you're from Queensland, as you called it, the most sensible state in the nation, and yet I keep hearing about the Palaszczuk government letting wind turbines come and cut up endangered birds and do all sorts of horrible things. Yeah. When does, as I said to Sam here, when does the reality hit for Labor on this?
Well, it's not just Labor's problem here, James. The Coalition, during their multiple terms in a row, signed up some of these multinational companies who are getting anywhere between $600,000 and $900,000 a year for every single wind turbine. And where's that money go? Overseas. Barnaby's right in that sense, but he was part of the problem when he signed Australia up to these net zero achievements and 2030 achievements as well. So the problem is, yeah, you can talk bang on all you like the Prime Minister did today about wholesale price of power going down, but when you're spending $1.5 trillion between now and 2030 to try and bolster our electricity grid and run power lines out to these far-flung areas where we've never had to run power lines before to get that power from solar plants or wind turbines back into the cities. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've flown into Brisbane and all those commercial buildings around the city with not a single solar panel on them, and that's where the power is required, in the middle of the city, not out of Collinsville. That's the last place they need solar power.